presented by Exquisite Timepieces. More about them in the description down below and later in the video. This watch is kind of ridiculous, but maybe that's a good thing. On my last trip to borrow watches from Exquisite Timepieces, they suggested that I check out this watch, a Speake-Marin 1 and 2 open-worked dual-time mint. My first thoughts were, I don't know about this one. I mean, it's kind of crazy, and it's way outside my wheelhouse when it comes to the type of watches that I typically like. It would have been easy for me to kind of dismiss this as an overindulgent luxury timepiece, but I decided I'd check it out and try to have an open mind. And what did I find? Well, it turns out that, yeah, it is kind of crazy, but it's also pretty amazing. What we have is a dual-time, open-worked mint green dial with retrograde date complication, automatic SMA02 movement with micro rotor, 42mm Piccadilly titanium DLC-coated case, heart-shaped mint green lacquered hands, sapphire crystal, and a mint green rubber strap. Oh, and did I mention it's also limited to just 18 total pieces. And while that is an impressive list of specifications, and it sounds great on paper, once you get it in hand, that's when the watch really starts to shine. The attention to detail and the fit and finish on this watch, especially on the open-worked watch face, and of course on the movement as it appears through the open case back, really is second to none. But before we get into that, a quick word about the specifications. The watch has a 42mm diameter with an overall thickness of about 13mm. The lug-to-lug length is just under 50mm and the lug width is 20mm. All that said, while this isn't a huge watch, the 42x50mm measurements, it does make it wear a bit larger than I typically prefer for my 6 1/2 inch wrist. Now there is a smaller 38mm version that I think would be sized a bit more appropriately for my wrist, but that version is even more rare, having been only produced in just 10 total pieces. This watch also has a retail price of $42,000 if I'm not mistaken. Now, certainly that's not what we would think of as an inexpensive watch, but given the quality and the rarity, I have seen similarly priced watches that offer less. Now, regarding the quality, like I said, the attention to detail is absolutely outstanding. The watch case in their Piccadilly style is titanium with a black DLC finish, and the finish is smooth and it's very even. And it kind of reminds me of ceramic cased watches that I've looked at in the past. The onion-style crown is large and well-textured, and it's easy to operate with incredibly smooth, almost silent winding action. In fact, it's so quiet that when I gave it a few twists for the first time, I had to hold it up to my ear because I wasn't sure that it was even doing anything. Turns out, yeah, it's just really, really smooth. The box sapphire crystal is extremely clear, thanks to an anti-reflective coating, and when viewed at an angle, it does give a slight visual distortion that's similar to the charming look you get when looking through an acrylic crystal at an angle. The mint-colored rubber strap with matching DLC titanium pin buckle is soft and it's flexible, and while it is great quality, I would say that for me, rubber straps are generally not my favorite. This might be my least favorite thing about the watch, but I do see why they made the choice to go with the colorful rubber strap for this edition, and it is fitting for the design. Now, the place where this watch really shines is in the fit and finish on the open-worked watch face and the movement, and it also has some great complications. First, a bit about those complications. We have a few interesting features on this watch. To start with, we have a dual time feature. Off-axis at the 9 o'clock side of the watch face, we're presented with a 24-hour scale dual time subdial. Typically, the 24-hour dial would be set to a reference time zone. Perhaps you'd set it to your home time or maybe to GMT time. Now in our case, we'll assume that we're set to our home time. The mint lacquered arrow pointer hand indicates the hour of your home time, in this case 10 a.m., and the dial itself is conveniently split into a light and a dark half, indicating AM or PM. Although with a 24-hour scale, it should be fairly obvious without that. Still, it's a nice design feature that breaks up the dial with a bit of color play, and I do like it. You can pull the crown to the fully out position to hack the movement and set the time, which sets both the central hand stack as well as the dual time dial. However, in the intermediate position, the watch continues to run, and it allows you to set just the main hour hand without affecting the setting of the dual time subdial. In this way, you could travel, for example, and you could set the main hand set to your current local time without affecting the reference home time on the 24-hour subdial and without stopping the watch's movement. It's a really nice feature, to say the least. The next complication that we have is the retrograde date, which is inset around the periphery of the small seconds subdial. It's controlled by a pusher at the left-hand side of the watch case, and with something like the tip of a pen, you can advance the date forward one click at a time. It's pretty quick to set, and once the date pointer reaches the 31st, the indicator resets back to the first position on the date scale. Now, one negative about this complication is that the pointer and the numerals on the date are on the smaller side, to say the least, making it a little bit hard to read the date if you have poor eyesight like I do. But it's still a really clever complication, and the design works really well, and it feels very well integrated into the watch face layout. Now, as far as the quality of construction and the fit and finish are concerned, up close, things look really impressive. Being an open-worked watch face, you can see a great deal of the mechanical components from the face of the watch, and everything is finished with a superior level of detail. All of the bridges are finished in the same black DLC coating as the watch case, and all of the surfaces are smooth with really nicely done beveled edges. The steel gears and the red pivot jewels offset the black and the mint green dial colors really nicely as well. The dial itself, it's layered, with the hands and the subdials set above the field of mint green, and it gives a really nice perception of depth and dimension when you're looking at the watch face. Finally, we have the main hand set, and it has crisp, high-polished hands with the hour in a heart or a spade shape, and inset with mint green lacquered fill. They are as finely finished as the rest of the watch face. The small seconds subdial might be the only aspect of the watch face that I feel is a little bit lacking. The simple printed graduations on the dial itself feel less grand than the rest of the face. That said, I don't think that it looks bad, but compared to the other graduated parts, like the chapter ring, the date scale, or the 24-hour dial, it does feel a little bit underwhelming. Not that I could suggest anything that I think would improve that design point. All that said, I think the face of the watch is executed extremely well. And while I'm not personally in the market for a watch with a mint green coloration, I'm nonetheless really impressed with the execution. Finally, we have the rear of the watch, and at a quick glance, you might almost think that we're looking at a manual wind timepiece. The movement looks a lot like a pocket watch design, or maybe a hand-wound watch with something like a 3/4 plate design. But when you notice the micro rotor with the mint oscillating weight, you can appreciate why the design went this way. You have the convenience of an automatic wristwatch with the decoration of the plates and the balance of a manual wind movement. We have polished screw heads and cotes de Genève that adorn the movement with finely beveled edges on nearly every part. I have to say, this is a movement worthy of a display case back window. The fit and finish of the movement is as nicely done as the watch face, and running at a 4 Hz frequency with a 52-hour power reserve, it's as nice technically as it looks. So when I started this video, I said this watch is kind of ridiculous. And yeah, that was my impression when I saw it for the first time. But I thought it was a bit ridiculous for its mint green dial and strap and for its complicated looking watch face. Now, after having had spent some time with it, it turns out that, yeah, it is kind of ridiculous, but it is kind of ridiculous for all the right reasons. It has super quality and fit and finish. And while, look, I didn't care for the design when I first saw it, I've come to appreciate how well everything in the design is tied together. So yeah, it's ridiculous for all the right reasons. This video is presented in partnership with Exquisite Timepieces, located in Naples, Florida. Exquisite is an authorized dealer of dozens of watch brands, including Seiko and Grand Seiko, Omega, Oris, Blancpain, Breguet, and many more. Exquisite also has an amazing selection of pre-owned watches with new inventory coming in daily. So if you're looking for your next watch, check their website, exquisitettimepieces.com, or call their store at 239-227-2932, and let them know that you heard about them from Guy and the Just Bluefish channel. I can't recommend them enough.